G'day everybody, welcome back to another episode of Photo Australia. What are we going to talk about today, Grant?
Well, Brad, good morning, folks, or good afternoon, folks. I just want to have a bit of a chat about camera clubs and the reasons behind them and why we do them and where they're going into the future. Things have changed a lot in recent years and recent months, hell of a lot. So I think it's pertinent to have a chat about the future of camera clubs and can we future-proof them and how do we go about doing that?
Well, I find it a interesting subject actually, Grant, because I'm probably a bit more of a younger generation who belongs to a camera club. Usually, I got to be careful what I say here, Grant, but
I'm listening, Brad.
Usually, I'll have to watch if you throw something at me, but they can be of the older descent that usually I find at camera clubs. But in saying that, some of the more progressive camera clubs, which have a larger membership base, which is probably something that would be interesting to talk about, has a little bit more of a range, which can be obvious, range in their age group. But there's still a lot of people, especially in my age range. I'm in the nearly crossing into 40s soon, but in the 30s range. We're still out taking photographs, yet we don't see a lot. Well, the clubs I've been to don't see a lot in my range. And I was talking to Grant a little bit earlier. Is that why is that? And is it something that camera clubs need to evolve? Because I know a lot of people in my range we're very online. We do a lot on the internet. We do a lot of watching YouTube videos. We pretty much on the computers more doing things there. So what are your thoughts, Grant?
Well, Brad, I just think this is a really interesting topic, and I apologise to some folks watching this if they get a bit bored by this type of stuff, but it is important. Look, I'm country born and bred, okay, and I'm probably the most classic example of you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. So when I look at camera clubs in large regional centres and in cities in particular, I understand how they're formed and the premise of them and the close proximity for people to access them, ease of access, all those issues. So I get that. However, I look at country camera clubs and I talk to my country cousins and I just see there's a real struggle going on out there to keep their clubs alive and keep them going. And the one thing we've learnt in the last year, the whole reason that we're here with Photo Australia talking to you, is brought about by COVID. And we started this, or Brad started this, I just tagged along for the ride, really.
We started this together though, Grant.
Okay.
Very first episode, we were both there. So,
and we've learnt so much about how how modern communications work. And I know some of you are going to laugh at that and go, modern communications, what are you on about? But that can be applied across a far greater range. And I think there's a whole new world out here, particularly for regional and country camera clubs, which I don't think they've even touched yet. I doubt if any of them have really given it too much thought. And I'd like to be a part of helping them have that awakening or awareness. So that's my thinking on it, Brad. That's where I'm coming from.
A lot of judges, this is in South Australia, are based in the city. There's occasional the odd ones that are out in the country areas. So travel, especially in our great land of Australia, travelling, and SA, and we're a big state, and long distances between towns. You go to Tasmania or some place like that, the next town is around the corner. But with South Australia, you're dealing with a lot longer distances, more remote locations. So they don't really have an access to a lot of our accredited judges, purely on distance. I'm with you on that one, Grant.
Can I just jump in there, Brad, to
yeah.
I'm not trying to apportion any blame in this at all. That's the way it is. I get the reasons behind all of that. I get the history of it. The history is there for us to learn from. I'm not going to try and rewrite the history. You can't. History is made and history is there to learn from. So what I am really on about is learning from that history and looking at the future and how we apply the lessons that we've learnt to the future. And I think we can do it, Brad.
Well, with technology these days, and I guess that comes to our channel a little bit too, is to try and move ahead and do things a bit different than a normal camera club. We've put this studio together so that we can reach further than just, going out to a physical meeting at a club. It's enabled us, and we've done a couple of them. Grant's done a couple, I've done a couple, where we've actually received the photographs from a country club. We've brought it into the studio here. We've played the photos through and given our comments and scores, which also opens up that we could even do that live from the studio at future time as well. I think it will connect with a slightly different audience. The interesting thing is my age group being online so much, especially, Friday night can be a bit of a difficult thing with my age group and younger, or anything, because we usually want to go out or do things. Doing things more remote like this, we can just tune in at whatever time, and you don't actually have to physically drive. Especially like country clubs, you might be driving half an hour or an hour, or even myself, I have to drive for our Victor Harbour Club. That's a good half hour to and from, which, you could easily just go online, have a look at what you want to look at, and then continue on. I mean, that's what my age group's very much about.
Yeah.
So I see that there could be a gap there that could be filled with doing similar things like this.
And I don't think I don't think we're talking about replacing club meetings here. Club meetings,
oh, hell no.
Club meetings have a very real and a very, very important role in the socialising and the face-to-face stuff. You can't replace that. You don't want to replace that.
And your printing. Don't forget your prints.
Your prints. I mean, I'm a great believer in printing.
Love printing.
I don't think a photograph is a photograph until it's printed. I'm not a fan of digital, projected digital images. There's so many factors in those projectors, screens, ambient lighting, etc., that I'm not. Anyway, enough said.
But doesn't that open up, Grant? Sorry to cut you off. I love doing this.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
But doesn't that open up such a new concept, though? I mean, you take judges, for instance. I mean, if somebody hit me up, even though that, people don't really want me anymore as a judge these days, Grant. But that's the thing. Like, I could be judging anywhere in the world. If they hit me up and say, "Hey, Brad, can you do this live or do this a recording of judging our photographs?" You can send that to any club anywhere, and that goes back to our own clubs.
Yep. And
I mean, we could do a digital section. And you could still have your prints where you just turn up physical, but you could do your digital selection and send that off to a judge anywhere in the world, and get them to judge it, record it, or send it back, or something like that, and you could have that online for club members to access. It's something that's not done a lot, not in South Australia, as far as I know.
No.
And it could open up a new world of especially future people coming along, future photographers. Most of them are online. Even some of the older ones are all online sharing photographs. It's all about basically trying to get involved and tap into that market of people that where the future of camera clubs are going, I think.
I think you're dead right, Brad. And I know my little rant just now on projected digital images. I'll just qualify that, folks. That's just my personal view. Okay, so you disregard that.
I took that very personal, Grant.
But yes, it's a relevant medium. It's a medium that makes a lot of sense to use in the world that we're talking about. So that takes us forward. That gives us access. So what I think can happen here, I know Brad and I have said this quietly before, but we'll say it a little more broadly now and a little more loudly, to country clubs in South Australia and maybe elsewhere. If you want a judge to come along and be at your meeting, a physical judge, now Brad's the qualified one, I'm the one that's...
Grant's getting his qualification, hopefully soon.
Whenever they run the courses.
That's only the state qualification, yep, Grant.
Yep.
I mean, you've already done a lot of judging and anything of photographs already, so it's just a formality, really.
Yep. But anyway, the point being, to SA country clubs, and we're not ruling out a further afield, if you want us to come along to your club meeting, if you want us to be present, no matter where you are, okay? Let us know. Give us, but we'll need notice because
interstate. Going further afield might be a bit of a challenge
with COVID.
At the moment, Grant. Yeah. And even interstate. Yeah,
so we couldn't afford to get stranded.
International might be a bit hard, but we have done crazy things in the past.
International with the air tickets.
When COVID
the invitation, well,
when COVID gets us flying again, might be international work.
But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But no, look, Brad and I, seriously, to South Australian regional and rural clubs, if you want a physical judge to come along to your meetings, we do a bit of judging for you now online. Give us a yell. We'll need some notice, but we will come your way. But we'll come for a few days, and we'll do your judging, and we'll poke around your area. We'll photograph the area. We'll have some fun while we're there. Probably even record a session of this in your neck of the woods, and with add into that the digital capability, and I think regional clubs, if they think about that, actually have a huge future because you can connect to a lot of people now, a lot of people that perhaps you couldn't connect with before. So think about it, folks.
Or even online stuff like the physical stuff's great, but you'll have to, for my case, you have to book in well advanced. I'm running a farm here, but I'm very open to the idea, have been for a couple of years actually, open to the idea of the way I see it is I get away for a couple of days, fit a little bit of photography in, and one of the nights do a competition for you guys. But also think online as well. I mean, we can certainly do that as well. With technology these days, it does open your world up a lot.
It does.
I think getting back to talking about the future of camera clubs is that we do have to get out online to basically connect with that younger audience.
We do, Brad, and it takes me back to a conversation I had a couple of years ago at an exhibition we had here in Victor Harbour. And the young lass came in, she was probably early 30s, I'm guessing at, and spent a lot of time walking around looking at the photographs. And I approached her and just had a chat about, what she was seeing and how she was enjoying it. And she said, "Oh, look, I'm absolutely loving this." She said, "I used to do a lot of photography when I was a teenager, and I loved it, absolutely adored it. But," she said, then life got in the way. And she said, boyfriends, marriage, children, work. And she said, the photography is just flown out the window. And she said, I haven't picked up a camera in 10 years or more. And she said, I'm really missing it. I want to get back into doing this. And I remember that conversation so clearly. And that's what's behind that, because here is someone that's obviously very talented by I could see from what she was liking, what she was looking at. looking to get back into it, but struggling. We talked about the club and meetings, etc., and she said, there's no way I could attend a meeting. I just can't do it. I've got 3 kids, and it's just not going to happen. We have another member that's just come back into our club that was a member, had much the same story. She's a little older than that, only by a few years, I would think. Hi, Susan. And she has, because the kids are now grown up and moved on, so she's now getting back into it. So the technology is a way, I think, to reach out and get connected with those younger mums and dads who had an interest in photography but can't really do much with it other than do it from their own homes and in their own environment. And I think we can offer that. So
exactly. One thing that's interesting, Grant, I haven't spoken to you about was no problems here. But is just recently I've noticed a lot of the manufacturers, camera manufacturers, are using Zoom platform to and they're doing like little mini workshops or discussions about new equipment. Just the other night, I tuned into a Zoom meeting with Nikon about their new Z series cameras and all the wonderful things that they're promising and all the rest of it to try and get my money, Grant, as camera manufacturers are very good at doing.
So how much did that cost you, that little session, Brad?
It didn't cost me anything, but it may cost me in the future, Grant. Okay, I might have to put my camera gear up for sale, but depends. I don't know how many more cows I can lose out in the paddock. They're all blinking their eyes at me saying, no, please, I want to stay here. But it's definitely shifting. And I see that camera clubs are going to have to start accommodating for this shift. It was like that Zoom meeting, there were people around Australia that joined in, but there was quite a lot. There was and they had the ability also to live chat as well. So while they were watching, they were able to also write comments, ask questions, all of those things through Zoom. Even some professional photographers are doing the same thing. They're doing workshops that are live and they're streaming them, and you can ask questions and they'll give their presentation and they'll take questions and answer those questions. So it's something that's definitely growing. It's getting bigger. I see that camera clubs will have to evolve for the next, I'm sure that I agree with you, physical meetings are still very important. Especially like your field outings and your social events. But competition-wise, I can see that could start evolving to something different and new.
Yep, absolutely. So, that was all I wanted to talk about, Brad, was that I think there is a way to future-proof camera clubs. I think there is a way to increase the involvement of regional and rural clubs. Once upon a time in country towns, a lot of these little country towns you drive through that now look a bit deserted and a bit tired, all had a football club, a tennis club, a cricket club, whatever. A lot of those communities, although albeit smaller, are still there, and camera clubs are a great way to connect and be involved. So I think there is something here that we've got to explore and expand on. So, folks, stay tuned. We've set ourselves a little bit of a target. Talk to you soon.
Let us know. Write a comment under this video. What do you think? Tell us what you think. What do you think is the future for camera clubs? What are great ideas that you think camera clubs should do? I mean, we need to get the message out there. I like to see things strive and move forward. Give us what your thoughts are. Grant and I would be very interested to see what you think. Are we talking garbage, Grant, or are we talking sense, or just let us know.
Yeah. As always, we'll throw it out there, and we encourage your involvement, because without you, it just don't happen. So,
with that, we will wrap this episode up. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.